I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championship, the season of dreams.
So JUCK over.
And if we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. The Ohio State Buckeyes, the 2024 national champs, will be remembered for how they came out of that. And welcome to JUCK on Bucks. Appreciate you so much for joining me. We got an update. Ryan Day has hired Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia will be the Buckeyes defensive coordinator, filling the role vacated by Jim Knowles as he skedaddled off to Penn State. By the way, James Franklin making a statement yesterday that Jim Knowles had every intention of going to the celebration. Like, why are they still talking about this? Well, nobody else is talking about this, but they still want to take more shots. They're so weird. Cannot wait to beat them. But back to Matt Patricia. Of the candidates that had been floated for the defensive coordinator position, Joe Collins and Randy Bates and Matt Guerrieri, Matt Patricia, when his name came out, clearly the most negative reaction we've seen from both Ohio State fans and college football pundits in general, to be honest, both about his personal reputation and from a professional standpoint. Some of the things I heard the last few days about this guy: not good with people. He rode Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's coattails to a Super Bowl. He was a horrible head coach for the Detroit Lions. He failed with the Eagles when he was brought on at the end of the season to try to help them. They did not retain him. The NFL has passed him over 4 straight hiring cycles. He was indicted for the horrible crime in 1997. He hasn't been in college football since 2003 and really wasn't ever in college football. How would this jive with Ryan Day's culture? Why would he take this risk? This guy's not going to be able to recruit at all. He's not going to be able to relate to young guys. So a lot to unpack there. That's a lot of negatives. He wasn't at the top of my list. But we'll start with the culture aspect. You know, I listened to a video of him from maybe 2023, anyway, 2023. And he was talking about how he was with Darius Slay as the head coach of the Lions. And a story had come out back then with a lot of the guys in that secondary and the way that he treated them or interacted with them. And it was really made him look very bad. And he talked about this and trying to improve as a person. And, you know, you see this with people. We don't all stay the same. If you can admit you've made a mistake in the past and you're working on getting better at it, even in his interviews, he sounds kind of different, happier. And it sounds like he regrets the way he was. And like I said the other day on the show, we did see so many of these guys from the Bill Belichick tree go somewhere and have that Bill Belichick attitude. We saw it with O'Brien, Josh McDaniels, Charlie Weiss, Matt Patricia. They emulated what they saw in Belichick and thought, this is the way you are as the head coach. And that works for Bill Belichick because he is Bill Belichick. Doesn't work when you're a rookie head coach walking into somewhere. And they all found that out the hard way. Patricia definitely sounds like he fits that mold. But the culture at Ohio State, second to none. And Ryan Day has spent his entire career building and developing in it. Nobody is going to want to protect that more than Ryan Day. Not me, not you. There's even been times when I've wished Ryan Day would relax that a little bit when it comes to taking a particular player that maybe was on that cut line that they might have been a little nervous about and maybe they've passed. But he is held true to that has to be number one for him is the culture. And boy, has he done a fantastic job with it. You know, you can't do anything but praise him for it. So what does it tell us? If that guy, Ryan Day, who will not compromise for a minute, sat down across from Matt Patricia, knowing full well and good everything that's out there about him, and he sat down with him and came away from that table with the understanding that he felt comfortable with bringing Matt Patricia in. If he felt comfortable with it, then I think we ought to, because nobody's going to protect it more than him. And I certainly trust him to make that judgment because he's done better than anybody else in college football when it comes to culture. Now, not being in the college game since 2023, recruiting, etc. These are things I don't I don't feel at Ohio State, like when we look at Jim Knowles, he didn't recruit a lick, and his job was to study an offense and develop his game plan to stop it. That's what his job was. As far as relating to the players and being the head coach of the defense, did pretty good at team practices, but he wasn't super involved with them. And he certainly wasn't super involved in recruiting. I don't know how that changes when we talk about game planning as a defensive coordinator, game planning against an offense from the pros to college. I don't think it changes a ton. You know what the offense is doing, and you develop a plan to stop them. I think it's the same premise. So I don't know that it's a whole lot different there. But Ryan Day wanted Jim Knowles to be the head coach of the defense. Jim wasn't great with the guys, but he was pretty good with them. Maybe he sees that Patricia might not be great in that area. Well, what does he do? He does exactly what he did with Brian Hartline. With Brian Hartline, the area of concern, calling plays. So he surrounded Brian Hartline with guys that he could help his perceived weakness, and that's going to be getting acclimated to calling the plays. He gives him Tyler Warren as the offensive line coach, who was an offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. At quarterback coach, promotes Billy Fessler to full-time. Billy Fessler was an offensive coordinator who called plays at the University of Akron. Promotes Keenan Bailey and Ryan himself. So they've got a whole team now working to help Hartline with his perceived weakness. What's Patricia's perceived weakness? Maybe it's relating to the guys. Maybe it's those kind of relationships. What does he do? He promotes Tim Walton to the co-defensive coordinator. There's nobody that those guys relate to more than Tim Walton. We've seen it for years now. Not only that, but he's a Buckeye from Georgia. I mean, he's just pretty much the perfect guy for that role. And if we're looking at those two now in a co-defensive coordinator role, it would seem on the surface to me that Patricia's top duties here would be the schematics with Tim's help. And Tim's top duty would be the head coach of the defense with the guys, with Matt's help. That would seem like the most common sense approach to delineate those duties between those two guys. And I think that sounds like it can work really well so far as OG, Walt, and Matt Patricia see eye to eye on things. And I'm sure they will with Ryan Day being the boss and setting the tone here. As far as Patricia schematically, developing a defense to squash offenses with Ohio State talent, I got a lot of faith in that. I mean, as much in him as I do anybody else, really, because I know how incredibly smart he is. That's for sure. Like this guy, super smart guy, crazy degree that I certainly couldn't dream of getting. And it's his life's work, right? This is what he's done his entire professional career. He's trying to resurrect his career. He's going to be incredibly motivated. And I would imagine he would be very appreciative of Ryan Day giving him this opportunity to work with the national champion, almost in like a rehab role, like we used to see Nick Saban do so many times. He'd take a super experienced guy that knew exactly what the heck he was doing when it comes to the football, that maybe had done some unfortunate stuff or fell on some tough times, like Steve Sarkisian, with his alcoholism, Lane Kiffin with his whatever isms he's got. He's got a lot. And give them the opportunity to resurrect their career. And it certainly worked for Saban. When you listen to Patricia, sounds like a really well-spoken guy. Sounds like he's got his stuff together to me. Lost a bunch of weight, shaved that disgusting beard. Seems like a guy trying to get it together. But I understand why anybody would be suspicious of this hire and wondering why in the heck Ryan Day would maybe take a chance or whatever. I get it. But when we go through it detail by detail, it makes sense. Personally, I didn't really want to change the scheme. I wanted to sit with Matt Guerrieri and Tim Walton in that role because I wanted these young starters in 2025, 8 new guys starting, to be totally familiar with the scheme and not have to worry a ton about that as well. Just worry about your first year in the role. So I'm curious to see how many changes we got coming here and what kind of style he's going to implement. We can go back and look at what he's done previously and the tenets of the defenses he's run. Generally, defensive line play. The inside guys are rushing heels depth and focusing on stopping the run. Not so much pass rushing. I don't know that really fits great with what I'd like to see out of Caden McDonald and Edric Houston in the middle. I kind of want to see them getting after it. instead of using those guys just as cloggers to kind of let the run game flow to the linebackers. He runs a lot of odd man fronts, trying to get Kenyatta Jackson, for instance, one-on-one, doesn't do a lot of blitzing, heavy on the pressure with 4-man rush like we saw most of last year, and relies heavily on good linebackers to really be great in the run game. And with Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese and Peyton Pierce and the new guys coming in, that looks like it fits pretty well. The secondary, how fast are these guys going to come along? I think a lot of that's going to, depend on how technical he gets with them back there. But, the bodies are there. The dudes are there. You got Jalen McClain coming up. I think he's going to be excellent to join Caleb Downs. You got Jermaine Matthews. And then you got the young guys, Aaron Scott and Devin Sanchez and Bryce West. You got talent. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really exciting to see what he does. I do think the guy has a lot of talent. And if Ryan Day, when we look at his career, when we look at his record hiring now, Kerry Coombs is really the only clunker he's ever had as a coordinator. And you can understand why he gave Kerry a shot. And I just think that ultimately, you can dislike the guy, Matt Patricia, but at the end of the day, Ryan Day has earned the confidence in me to know he's usually going to make the right hire, and he knows exactly what he's looking for. So my first instincts here, I like the hire. I like the NFL influence on the defense. I really like OG Walt being the head coach of the defense in that role, if that's what we end up getting. But I also would have liked that with Matt Guerrieri. And part of me thinks maybe Ryan Day did not want to do two internal hires, both on both sides of the ball for both coordinators, because it's probably very stressful on him knowing, that he's got two young guys and in that role at Ohio State for the first time, rather than a guy who's a seasoned veteran at that. Maybe he has to worry about a little less with Matt Patricia on the defense. I don't know. But at any rate, Matt Patricia's the guy. That's what we got. Let's roll on for the repeat. Can't wait to see how this shakes out. And it's certainly going to make for a whole lot of backlash if it doesn't go good. I can tell you that, because there's a lot of heated people about this one. But, at this point in Ryan Day, I trust. I got to give him that much respect, because he's earned it. And I'm not someone who just blindly throws faith at the head coach because he's won. He's earned it with his hires. He's earned that respect from me. So that's the way I feel about it. Love to know how you feel about it. Talk to you guys soon. Chuck and Bucks out.